the biggest thing was kind of fix the transaction speeds, right? And kind of make it faster and better to perform overall. Who've helped us along the way, give us feedback. But we really want to build this around them. 100%. So my name is Fonzie. Having about a decade of experience in the crypto space itself, and the idea behind Ordinal Hive was basically it was born from the need for a sort of better trading infrastructure and platform on Bitcoin when these assets newly came out. I think the need for a highly, professional kind of infrastructure, institutional grade infrastructure to trade these assets faster, better, and aggregate sort of the liquidity and markets across Bitcoin was needed. So that was some of the motivation behind that. And since then, we've done very well with that, and built additional things on it. Yeah, so I think two things there. The first one is, although the name itself is like the easy way to kind of, get people to understand what we're trying to achieve and build, um, the foundation and the way we built it is completely different, right? Every blockchain has its own ecosystem, has its own sort of like kind of nuances and specific things you build on top. Like if you build a platform around Ethereum, you built it around the blockchain itself. If you built a professional trading platform on Solana, you build it around the faster trading speeds. If you build it around Bitcoin, it's really building around the mempool itself and how Bitcoin works, which is what we have done. And ideally, like the biggest thing was kind of fix the transaction speeds, right? And kind of make it faster and better to perform overall. So like when people come, it's a very similar experience to have in other ecosystems, especially like Solana, stuff like that, right? So that's one big kind of factor there. And so second thing too, in terms of like the speeds and specific infra and like the build itself, I think, for us, we've have like a couple individuals and traders and users who've helped us along the way, give us feedback, but we really want to build this around them. Right? It matters a lot for us to kind of get their opinions, their thoughts. And so like, us being angel users, obviously, and, having that core group of individuals to help us like, direct us and kind of give us that feedback needed to make proper changes and implement those changes, right? As well as executing has really made us like have a quality platform that's, pretty quite popular among those traders. And also like, allow us to become the second biggest aggregator in the ecosystem, right? So like one way to understand the market is to understand that it's on Bitcoin, which is sort of like a dinosaur. There's no smart contracts. There's like nothing really you can go on and look at. You really have to build everything from scratch. And most of these marketplaces are quite, isolated in that sense. So for us, like one of the things that we kind of wanted to build was the aggregation. So like, I mean, this is a preview of the background, so it's a still image, but there's kind of a lot more that sort of meets the eye in that sense. But like the idea behind that as well is like, we can aggregate sort of listings, we can aggregate data, we can aggregate liquidity across marketplaces and have it in one single interface for users to go to. It's an all-in one-stop shop. And that really provides a more kind of well-rounded view of the market instead of going to, all these other places and trying to find out the best price discovery. So like the aggregation has been very important for us, one of our key features, and one of the best things that our users love. And it's the reason why we've become the second biggest aggregator as well. Yeah, yeah. There's actually quite a few. I think, Um, actually, I think it was Elon Musk who said this. Like, focusing on one problem for a week, at the end you fix 52 important core problems. We tried to implement that very early on too. I think building a Bitcoin requires a very patient, very purposeful build, just because it's like again, it's like a dinosaur. There's no smart contracts, no that kind of stuff. So like we had to kind of think outside the box in terms of how we're going to aggregate these marketplaces. With most of these marketplaces have closed APIs or don't provide specific endpoints that we do need, especially in the early days. So like we had to kind of be creative and put our thinking caps on and overcoming the problem. Like when you're constrained and there's not many solutions, you kind of are creative to think of one. And so for us, like we did that, we did just that there. And as a result, for sort of like being constrained in that environment, thinking of possible solutions, we've thought of things that kind of helped give us an edge, like data, for instance, like when you list something elsewhere, when you bid on something elsewhere, when liquidity is added or any sort of data is done in different marketplace, like it shows up in real time in ours as well, right? So that's kind of like the speeds of data we work with. And so like having that kind of real time is so important, especially for any sort of trading environment. So yeah, that was like one of the core things. In addition to that, there's other things we had to kind of do and think outside the box. I won't mention some of them, but like, they basically help build the aggregator for what it is right now. And even the faster trading too, right? Like I guess the question like people ask is like, how did you achieve faster trades on Bitcoin L1? Like using literally Bitcoin, like you can trade the same asset within the block before it clears, like multiple times, right? So you can like buy list, and sell and stuff like that. Very similar to Solana speeds before the block clears in seconds. And that was achieved through like, consistent kind of like tackling the problem, just which was like the slow times and doing it in real time. So yeah, I think that's some things that we've done, achieved, and very, very proud of the team for that as well. Yeah. So there's quite a few actually. Like I think one like when it comes to us like when it comes to NFTs, they're much different in tokens because I think NFTs have culture, they have community. It's and obviously like there's not one it's not the same as the other, right? These are not fungible assets are not just like fungible assets where one is not the same value as another, or might hold the same kind of like, um like same regard as another, right? So that's one thing you're battling, you're testing. And we've seen over and over again, time and time again, where it basically is like the idea behind this as well as users tend to trade these assets when like there's liquidity, when there's like money rotating. And it's always cyclical. It's always towards the end of the cycle. And so like, Bitcoin does very well, and then it has like around 60% or something like that dominance, if not more. It goes back to the 42, 45 range of dominance, and then that sort of money rotates to altcoins, to tokens, and then meme coins as well, and that rotates to like NFTs, right? And so like money rotation has allowed us to kind of like build this in a way that will give us very unique insight or very unique engagement when the time comes and we're ready. In addition to that, it's opened the doors for like us to kind of allow for other assets to be traded here on this platform, knowing that there's users willing to kind of like rotate their money. And so that's given us like an idea of the future roadmap being something where we involve some TradFi elements, some TradFi assets as well in a platform, and being able to access like this amount of liquidity on Bitcoin, right? Because it's the most liquid blockchain. It's the most accepted, widely accepted and regarded blockchain as well. And it's pretty much like we can safely say it has reached a product market fit, Bitcoin has. So like for us, it's like how can we continue leveraging that, the liquidity that Bitcoin is seeing idle, and how can we like leverage that sort of rotation of money to help us with our needs and goals, right? So yeah, that's a unique insight we've gotten so far. And there's a lot more that we're obviously getting on a day by day basis and building like unique profiles and seeing what else they kind of trade and do. But I think in this era, data is super key. It's super important. And the best thing you can do is sort of translate that data to make sense of it and just build products that the users want to engage with and continue retaining them as well. So snap protection, like I think that was a huge thing back in the day. Like we realized that was huge. When we built this out, like in the mempool, there was ways where you can snipe assets. Sniping is pretty much dead since snipe protection came out, and that was to be expected. I think the real price, the winner becomes in twofold, execution and real price aggregation, right? Like you want to have the realest price discovery, like whichever platform provides that, especially on Bitcoin, has an edge, right? So like information when the first asset hits the mempool, like we want to do that. We want to be the first ones to do that. We scan the mempool consistently for any sort of data on that as well. We scan marketplaces consistently to get any specific recordings or listings off that, especially liquidity, things like that. So I think the price discovery is super important. The speed behind that has to be efficient and the best in the eco, which we have achieved. And then that kind of facilitates into every other facet in our platform, right? I think the cyber protection is good. Obviously, it's something that if we wanted to be taken as a serious training platform, especially on Bitcoin, we had to do away with. I think the next element to that, which we saw very early on, was the faster speeds, right? Like the discovery kind of doing faster speeds is so important. So for us, like, we're gonna make sure that we do enable and do that the best way, which we have. And just like it fits our overall kind of thesis and goals and future roadmap as well. Like, kind of those speeds there. So yeah, I think those specific key features has kept giving us an edge, and I think markets and people usually go towards like the most liquid markets, and the most liquid markets are the ones that are the most institutional grade, which are they optimize for speed at the end, right? Which we've done so far. Yeah, I over the course of the time, I've got to like get really close with some individuals there. Like obviously, like you've been fantastic, Zoe. Definitely working with you over the course of the program. KJ as well. KJ's fantastic founder as well. I got close to him too, and over the course of the program as well as Dafu, like meeting with Dafu on a weekly basis. So that kind of mentorship is very invaluable. Like Dafu, like we've gone to calls, we hopped into calls like every week, and he's giving us guidance and stuff, and that's very important. Second thing to mention is also the network plays a huge role, like very well connected. Pretty much anyone I wanted to get connected with, like I did, right? And so like that was key. And there's specific systems and partners we wanted to have, and we got those individuals. There's specific, KOL, specific like maybe other projects or things we need, and we pretty much get connected to those as well. So the network is very vital. The third thing too is like I think one cool thing about OnePiece Labs is that it fosters an environment of like just innovation and creativity, especially when it comes to other founders and their project. So you're placing the core with other motivated individuals like yourself, and I think that's a really cool place to be in because you grow together, right? And it's like something it's that's so unique, but like it's unique and personalized, but at the same time, you know that the other person's going through the same thing. So like you can kind of like bounce ideas off. You can kind of go and ask for advice, and oftentimes they face the same things or face similar problems, so they can give you like solid advice for it too. So yeah, those are some great things as well that kind of the program offers, and overall, it's been a fantastic experience. I think the cool thing about the program itself is that you get perspectives from different founders and individuals in the industry. You get the views of founders, VCs, market makers, and so much more, right? So I think at one point, like, there was something that one of the founders said, which is you want to build a product um, that the users want, right? And that was so key because at the end, it's completely 100% correct. Like, you don't want to just build a product aimlessly and think that's going to fit. Like, instead, you want to build something that users want. And the best way to do that is by having users involved from day one, right? And so for us, like, we had the pilot program, we had the ambassadors program as well. And, with that, we wanted to make sure that we do, in fact, get what we need, especially when it comes to like like iterating the platform and that sort of feedback. We do implement those things, and we build like towards them, right? We built something that they wanted to consistently use, and they're part of the process too, right? Makes them part of like the unique experience. So yeah, those things, that thing was quite invaluable and something that definitely cherish. I think we've reached a point where like people are happy that these assets existed, but we're moving towards something much more, right? And I think the introduction of like on-chain stocks or like TradFi assets is becoming much more appealing, especially as we have institutions coming into like the ecosystem and kind of building and trading stuff there. So I do see it evolving that way, that direction. Like stablecoins is probably the foundation you want to lay out for that as well. And so we're seeing a bunch of them deploy. And so for us, like we're evolving and moving towards that. Like with partners and stuff, we announced a partnership with Torum. We're building a TradFi platform for options and trades and doing real world asset trading there as well. So like those kind of things are quite frankly something that we're super excited about and like want to continue doing. But yeah, like that's one of the biggest things there. And I think it's going to evolve that way. You're going to have much more mature kind of ecosystems existing within Bitcoin, but we're probably going to end up moving away from like the meme stuff and like, token stuff, rather like doing more of like real world assets, TradFi assets, stuff like that. Quite a lot actually. And that's a good question. Like I think being part of like this wave of founders and builders of this generation is a fantastic thing to be like be in, right? So like I think for us, we've got to see the ecosystem mature from its early days to like where it's at now. And I think, that's a way we don't want to miss. You don't want to like kind of you don't want to like, jump off. Yeah, and I think what excites me more about this space is it's sort of future evolve, like how it evolves in the future itself. And that's with like, TradFi assets, platforms, on-chain trading stocks. Like we're seeing Robinhood, Coinbase, and others kind of come into the eco and kind of like produce some infra, like building specific infra for that specific purpose there. So like, that's something that I think we're moving towards a BlackRock coming into like the space, right? More institutional grade platforms, more like traditional hedge funds and stuff like that, looking into these asset classes. And Bitcoin hitting 170K is a confirmation that, it's pretty much a good place to be in. People love this, right? Like, when we thought like 20K was the downfall or whatever that price was, like it turns out that wasn't the case, right? So I think we're gonna have much more things happening like that. So to be a part of that early on, this early, I think is a pretty good um, a pretty good like motivator.